The world is becoming increasingly proficient at telling stories that deny God. As such, we need Thinking Christian to become as natural as breathing. Welcome to the Thinking Christian podcast. I'm Dr. James Spencer. Through calm, thoughtful, theological discussions, Thinking Christian highlights the ways God is working in the world and questions the underlying social, cultural, and political assumptions that hinder Christians from becoming more like Christ. Now, on to today's episode of Thinking Christian. Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Thinking Christian. I'm Dr. James Spencer, and I'm joined today by two of the stars of God's Not Dead, In God We Trust, which is going to be out in theaters in September 12th. David A.R. White and Scott Baio. Guys, thanks for coming on Thinking Christian podcast. It's great to meet you. Great to have you on.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, James.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I got a little bit of a preview of the movie, just to, kind of the building blocks, I suppose, of the plot. But I'm wondering if maybe you can describe what the movie's about and maybe why you decided you wanted to be in it. And that can go to either one of you. David, why don't I start with you?
Dave produced the movie.
There you go.
This is it's hard to believe, it's our 10-year anniversary for God's Not Dead. And where in the world do you go with the God's Not Dead franchise? That's always a question, right? Is there even a point to do another one? We don't want to make a movie to just make a movie, but in this one, Reverend Dave is running for Congress. There's the incumbent dies, and so there's a spot open in Congress 4 weeks before the election. Nobody else wants to join in because, as we all know, politics is a dirty business, and you get dragged through the mud. And the antithesis, played by Ray Wise, is basically trying to stamp God out of culture and country, and chaos ensues.
Yeah.
And so there we go, and for such a time as this, I think this movie resonates.
Did you feel like you had to look?
Modern day Mr. Smith Goes to Washington is what it is.
Modern day Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Okay. Why do you think this is? I mean, obviously there are a lot of reasons, but I'd like to hear you guys talk about it. Why do you think this is important right now? I mean, what are your thoughts on politics in America right now, and how you think this movie is really going to resonate and encourage maybe faith-based audiences and other people who watch the movie to get out and participate in politics?
Scott?
Yeah, Scott, why don't you go?
Maybe I don't want to go.
Oh boy, here we go again. It's not set. Scott, do you want to do a close up first, or maybe I don't want to, David? Maybe I don't want to.
Well, I think the importance of the movie is that there are 40 million Christians that don't vote, and they need to vote, because very slowly or slowly over the past couple of decades, and quite rapidly now, God is being taken out of almost everything in this country. And there are like the 40 million people that don't vote. For whatever the reason is, they don't vote. I don't know what the reason is, but and David talks about this, where politics and faith and Christians don't want to get involved in politics. Well, unfortunately, politics is involved in everything now in this country. It's involved in every aspect of our lives. And if you don't like the way the country's going, you got to do something about it, and you got to go and vote. And that's aside from being a good movie, well done movie, the message is, if you want to affect change, you got to get off your rear end, get off whatever principle you're standing on, and vote. And then you vote this one time in this election, you 40 million people. And you could sit down for a while, because you're going to have a very, very powerful voice.
Yeah. David, anything to add to that?
Oh, no. Here's the thing that's crazy. Here's the thing that's crazy is out of that 40 million people who don't vote, right, which is a crazy stat, is 15 million aren't even registered to vote. And so, we've it's been an age-old argument about church and state. Where in the world do they collide, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where does one end and where does the other start? And more, it's like, should Christians be involved in politics? Well, it's a dirty business. We don't want to be involved in politics. So we sit back, we armchair, quarterback the whole, we throw stones at whoever it is and complain. And yet the movie is it talks about change. It talks about you want to complain, yet that person's not in charge. This person's not in charge. You have the power to change things. And if we don't, as Scott was saying, if we don't step out of our comfort zone and if we don't get involved, then we have no one to blame but ourselves. Yeah, we can say, well, elections are rigged, they're cheated, they're whatever, but at the core of it is just at least get out and vote. And and we've done as Christians, we've done a really poor job of even doing that. And so the movie is, it's whether or not this movie should have been done. It was started 3 years ago. We felt like it was supposed to be made, and I did not imagine, nor 10 years ago when the first one came out, that it would be received as well as it is, and also as relevant as it is.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing that again. And so I hope people come out on September 12th and they show up, and that they give their support to not only the movie. If you don't come out and support the movies, then they're not going to be in theaters, faith-based movies, for very much longer. But B, if you get anything out of the movie, just at least go vote, at least register to vote.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, the God's Not Dead franchise, and you mentioned this, like most popular franchise, Christian franchise movies ever, as far as I understand it, right? These are the most popular faith-based movies. What do you attribute that popularity to? I mean, what resonates so much about God's Not Dead, that franchise overall?
I think if it had been named something different, maybe I don't know. It's I don't want to. It's interesting. Why did the Lord choose to bless this movie? Right? Why did His hand of favor was on this movie? I think the title speaks it so clearly. It's, God says, "My word will not come back void." When faith or Christianity or biblical worldview, or even just verses from the Bible are put into a movie, more and more God says, "My word won't come back void." That's not going to be, even you could do the worst movie ever, and God's going to still use that movie. And I've seen it time and time again, even in some of the movies that, early on when I was in, when they were the short little movies made for $50,000 or something crazy at the time. They're relevant. They hit people where they are. And I feel like the truth and the purity of the film comes out, and people are moved by these movies, which ultimately brings people back to them. And our goal isn't just to make another movie. Our goal is to make a movie that is relevant, that encourages and inspires, and hopefully, brings people to a higher level of insight to who God is and the purpose that He has for their lives. Through the powerful medium of film.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, David, you mentioned, and maybe Scott, you can comment on this, but David mentioned, at least get out and vote. And so you guys have obviously done a little bit more than just go out and vote. You've made a movie. You're encouraging people to actually go out and vote. What are some things, beyond just voting that you see us missing as a faith-based community, as a Christian community?
Probably being vocal. I think Christians have no idea why are feeling persecuted or shamed as Bible thumpers and crazy people and conspiracy theorists. And I don't know where that I know where that came from. I think the politicians are afraid of religion because it sort of takes government out of people's lives if you have religion, and they want government in your life. So if people were more vocal and reached out more, I think that would help considerably. And don't be afraid. Look, it's a violent country. I don't know when that happened too, where violence against Christians is fine, violence against Jews is fine. I don't know when that happened, but it is frightening. I grew up in America, and I don't feel like I live in America anymore. I don't really know where I live. I live in some quasi America, quasi fascist country where you're being told what to say and we're being propagandized, and so I'm just hopeful that Christians will be more vocal and Christians will come out and vote in mass, and you're upset about stuff, do something about it.
Yeah. When you think about the 40 million Christians who aren't voting, I mean, I have this sense that some people do it out of apathy. There's probably a number of mixed motives, right? And we've already said we don't really know why they don't vote. But I do get the impression that fear or concerns related to the efficacy of voting are, part of that mix. And so in the movie, as you're sort of moving this pastor through Washington, how do you deal with the dirty aspect of politics and this pastor sort of navigating that, as well as the efficacy of the political realm? You know what I'm asking? Like, how is it that we understand that this actually has an effect, that it is going to have an impact on the way that our government runs, so that we can see that people actually change things? Maybe I'll turn to David for that one.
Yeah, it's crazy that you have the church and state, right? Separation of church and state. And then this movie talks about the separation between Christian and politics. Like, where should Christians be involved in politics, or should they not? It's a dirty business. Maybe they don't want to be, even part of it. And then also, it's like, it's mind-boggling to. I don't know why. Like, I just think people. It's easier to just complain about things than to actually do something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like it's the same way. I hate to even say this, but it's similar to Hollywood. I grew up as a Mennonite, right? I was seeing a movie in the theater the first 18 years of my life. However, I did watch Happy Days with Scott Baio. Television, very small television. When I said I wanted to go to Hollywood, my dad and everybody else basically was like, "Why would you do that? Hollywood's an evil place. Why go to a terrible place and get involved in this?" Now this is years ago. I'm not saying that maybe Christians don't feel the same way these days. I don't know whether they do or they don't. But back then it was like that's a dark place.
Yeah.
But the problem is, the irony about that whole thing is that for whatever reason, the Lord put in my heart a love for movies. He put a love for entertainment, a love for telling stories, and a passion for this. And so I felt like I was supposed to go. Now here we are, building PureFlix later. With the irony of this is, we build PureFlix, we make a lot of faith and family films for the underserved marketplace of faith-based people, right? That wouldn't have existed if I didn't, not just me, but if believers didn't exist and didn't show up. And I think that's even true with your podcast here, is that people of faith need to stop trying to run from what isn't comfortable and step out of your comfort zone and know that God wants you to do that if he put that thing inside of each and every one of our hearts, that dream,
Yeah.
that desire.
And is that
And
sort of the tension? I mean, that what you just described, is that sort of the tension the character goes through in the movie? That very similar tension, like sort of the
it is. I
reluctant
mean,
servant kind of vibe.
it's a bizarre thing of life imitating art here. It happens in a lot of different ways, whether or not the character that you're playing, in some way, shape, or form. I think most of the time, and Scott, you might correct me on this, but the ones that I played, I feel a certain connection to, and a struggle, from a human standpoint of what that character goes through, which I think ultimately is why these movies or movies like these resonate, is because people can see the organic heart in the character. He's an underdog trying to overcome something that's beyond him.
Yeah.
Scott plays a bad guy in this, so I'm not sure where life imitates art in his life, but I am actually kind of curious about that conversation.
We'll talk later off camera, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, Scott, like you do play bad guy in the film. So how do you, obviously you have convictions opposing that. How do you prepare to do that? Like, what does that even look like? Because you're, obviously it's acting, so you're not acting like yourself, but you have to adopt a whole different sort of mindset and value system to kind of get into character, no?
Well, I could give you the BS actor response, and yes, of course, I did a lot of meditating and
Yeah,
interviewed some bad guys, and it was just written well.
yeah,
And you see enough bad people, you see enough bad politicos on television, and I always, in watching, not politicians and the people that work for these politicians, there's a watching them. I know they're lying to me. I know it. When
yeah,
their mouths are moving, they're lying. And it's easy to, so in this is in God's Not Dead, in God We Trust, there's some fun in there where I go after the girl Samira about her weight, because politicians, if they can't beat you in the arena of ideas, they go after you personally. And you see it all the time. So that was an easy one.
yeah,
But getting back to you said something about the efficacy of the elections, and there was something else you said in there, James, that kind of hit me. People don't trust something, or people don't trust the elections, or whatever it is,
yeah,
and they don't want politics in faith, but it is what it is.
yeah,
That's it. It's there. So you have to deal with what's in front of you. You can't say, well, it used to be like this. No,
right.
it's what it is now. And if you think that you can fudge 40 million votes, I don't think you can.
Yeah,
Whether they massage votes, whether they find votes, whatever they do,
right.
you can't fake that. You can't beat that. So that's why I think David, in making this movie, it's an amazing, it's such a simple message, but an
Yeah,
amazingly powerful one.
yeah,
There are 40 million of you that are probably unhappy. You have so much power to change things the way you want them to be. And it's not that much of a change, really. We just want to be God-fearing, prosperous, powerful, and safe. And that's it. And these people have the power to do that.
yeah. It's interesting. So I live in Illinois, and in Illinois, there's sort of this little mini mantra, and it's like, if you're a Democrat, they don't need you. If you're a Republican, you don't matter. And I think that's the sort of apathy that I have a feeling, at least when I talk to people in my area who don't vote, they just feel like it's insurmountable odds. And so within that state, it's difficult to, do anything to change. But then I look at things like there was a story out in Oregon where there's a group of voters who are actually trying to secede from Oregon. I believe they're trying to join Idaho, if I recall. Have you guys
Yes,
heard about
I've
this?
heard that. I've heard of that.
And I find it so interesting because it's like, yeah, they might not be able to win general elections, even if they all got together. but they're still doing something to make their voices heard, and they're raising enough of a ruckus to sort of make people pay attention.
Right.
Last I checked, I think they had 4 or 5 counties that had sort of signed on to the petition. And so they're doing something. They're pushing back and making themselves known, which I think is great. It's a really interesting story, but yeah, I appreciate that. That's the sort of apathy, though, that I'm concerned that sometimes Christians get. It's like it doesn't matter if we vote,
Right.
and it won't do anything.
There's a really wonderful speech at the end of the movie where David talks about all of that.
Yeah,
There are so many people again that don't vote, and if they voted, it'd be a complete. It's frustrating. I mean, it would be a completely different country.
Yeah. It wouldn't even be a challenge. I mean, I wonder how many on the other side. I mean, we see the 40 million. I wonder how many on the other side don't vote. But it's interesting to think there's 40 million people who are a voting bloc that are just not participating.
Yeah.
15 million, you said, I think, that aren't even registered. Is that
15? Yeah, I think so. David knows the
Yeah.
stats better than I.
yeah.
Crazy.
It's maddening. So hopefully September 12th, 10 million people will go out and watch it and tell their friends and tell their friends and tell their friends, and
Yeah.
we'll get something done.
Get some folks registered?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so on and so
Actually,
on.
at the very end of the movie, there's a QR code to register to vote. It's like, hey, if you got
Okay.
nothing else on this movie, please you're registered to vote.
I wondered if you guys had partnered with any ministries. I'm just coming out of this Christian Post Politics in the Pews forum, and there are a number of ministries who are actually now going out into churches and mobilizing those churches to get people to register to vote and go to the polls and those kind of things. Have you partnered with anybody for that, or are you just doing the hey, here's the link to register?
I don't know that. I mean, in the movie, we're not partnering in the movie, but in the marketing aspect of it, I don't know that.
Gotcha.
The marketing department would know that.
Yeah.
But hopefully, it's a universal theme that no matter what, whether you like the movie, don't like the movie, go, don't go. Although let me just say, please go to see Scott Baio because it's definitely worth your price of admission and the popcorn. But at the very least, please just vote. In the election that's coming up, and we're not even telling you which way you have to vote, but just vote, just be involved.
Yeah.
So I think
involved.
I think it's important because obviously we talk a lot about voting, and it is an election movie. But at the heart of these, the goal of all the God's Not Dead films are to inspire, to breathe hope into people, in people's lives wherever they are, because we're broken people. We go through a lot. There's so many things that is hard in life. Not all of us roll out on the beach like Scott Baio and enjoy some sunshine and golf. Like
I moved to Florida, so that's
yeah. By the way, he moved to Florida, which I'm still bitter because I still live in Los Angeles.
Okay.
But the point is that there's and I feel like the God's Not Dead movies serve that to breathe hope. Into people's lives where they're at right now, and that's genuinely our hope.
Well,
I know
and David, you're
hope a lot, but
yeah.
I feel like I'm part of the DNC. What is it, joy? Was joy their word, and hope can be ours?
Yeah.
Is that right, Scott?
Well, David, you're pretty well versed in this, right? Because I mean, you've been doing a podcast, the White House Pod. Right.
Yeah, the White House Pod.
So,
yeah.
Where
we have such an amazing guest, Scott Baio.
Yeah, so I mean, you've been talking to a lot of political folks, and talk a little bit about what you've learned from that.
Well, Scott also has a podcast. We got to hear about his too.
Oh, okay.
Mine's not actually about it, but ironically, it's not a political podcast at all. I know it's called the White House Pod, but that's just because it's my last name, and I always found it quite humorous to say, "You've reached the White House. Leave a message," on my answer machines. And quite frankly, I didn't even want to be involved in politics. I was one of those 40 million people who were like, "Hey, I don't want to be involved in this." Arguing and that kind of thing. That's not my lane. That's Scott Baio's lane. But um, our podcast is just about dreams. It's about where does God put them? Where did they come from, and where did God put that thing inside of their heart, and then where is
Gotcha.
he taking each and every one of us? And so, please check it out. It's on Spotify and iHeartRadio and YouTube and everywhere else. The White House Pod, Dare to Dream.
And Scott, you do Take on Life. Am I getting that title correctly
Is that a
on the
song?
podcast?
Scott, take me on. No.
No, that's no from the band.
Uh-huh.
Take on me.
That's it.
So what do you got going on with your podcast?
My
What do you got
podcast
going on, Mr. Baio?
is
Yeah.
What do you got going on over there
What do you got going on?
in the
it's,
sunny Isles of Florida?
it's no politics. It's just me and two buddies of mine. Excuse me.
What is this called again, Scott?
Take on life. It's my
It is
take
on
on
life.
life. My take on things in life.
Is
Like
it
when you
my
go-
or just take on life?
No, it's my take on things in life. Like if a plumber comes to your house and his butt crack is showing, do you tell him? We sit around and smoke cigars. What's it like going to the airport? Will you eat in a restaurant by yourself? It's just little life things that we talk about. I sit around with my buddies. We talk about silly things and things you don't really think about, like what's going through the TSA, stuff like that. Or my wife told me my earlobes are too big, and I went, well, when the hell did that happen? And my earlobe, and you talk about the body changing as you age, just things like that.
That's awesome. Well, guys, just give us a final word on the movie. September 12th is when it comes out in theaters. What's the release looking like? All over? I mean, what are we looking at?
It is wide. It's September 12th. Yeah. You know what? Go to God's Not Dead, godsnotdead.com. And I like that. I'm trying to remember if there was a movie in there, but it's just godsnotdead.com.
Godsnotdead.com. Okay.
Which is you can pre-buy your tickets there and try to sell out a theater where you're at. Try to bring buy a whole roll, get your friends, your family to come out, because when you do that, you cast a vote that says, you know what, hey, Hollywood, hey, theater chains, AMC, you know what, we support this stuff and we want more of these movies in theaters. And don't you dare try to take that freedom away from us. That's the September 12th. Very important that you come out opening weekend.
And also, James, it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
It's just, if forget all this
end of the day. Yeah.
Election and all that. It's just a good movie. It's a good movie to take your family to, and it's a good story.
Yeah. Well, let me ask, because we're getting close to time, so I want to ask you guys the question, and I'll ask both of you. But I ask a question of all my guests before we get off here. So here's the question. What do you think Christians ought to be thinking about in today's world to help us be and make disciples more faithfully? So maybe I'll start, David, with you. Is that cool?
Sure. Wow. I'm sorry. What was the exact question one more time?
Yep. So what do you think Christians should be thinking about today to be and make disciples more faithfully?
Yeah. I think it's a matter of just what is it that you feel like God called you to do, on a daily basis, and taking that step forward one step at a time, wherever it is. And most likely it's going to be out of your comfort zone, because that seems to be the way that God works in our lives, is that he doesn't like us to be comfortable. He likes to put us in a waiting room, to stretch us, to teach us that faith, is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not yet seen.
Love it. Yeah, very cool. Scott, any thoughts? What do you think?
Well,
what are we missing?
Not to be shy.
Yeah.
Go out, and it's so crazy to me that Christians are, you think about the flip in this country.
Yeah.
When I was a boy, till now.
Yeah.
And it's frightening that Christians have to hide. Don't hide. That's mine.
Very cool.
I'm done.
Gentlemen, we're out of time, but I really appreciate you being here. And
Thank you, James.
everybody, go see God's Not Dead, In God We Trust, in theaters September 12th. And we'll put the website and everything up on the show notes so you can check it out. But I'd encourage you to go buy tickets, go take your friends, go tell everybody, go see the movie. Fantastic franchise, fantastic movie, and really appreciate you all both being here.
Thank you,
James,
James.
thanks so much. Appreciate you.
All right. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you on the next episode
Thanks,
of Thinking
You got it.
Christian. Just want to take a second to thank the team at Life Audio for their partnership with us on the Thinking Christian podcast. If you go to lifeaudio.com, you'll find dozens of other faith-centered podcasts in their network. They've got shows about prayer, Bible study, parenting, and more.
There's no better way to start your day than spending time in God's Word and in prayer. Don't know where to start? We have a free daily prayer podcast created to help you do just that. The Your Daily Prayer podcast delivers a thoughtful devotional and timely prayer to you 7 days a week. Gain inspiration, faith, and encouragement with daily messages in 10 minutes or less. To start listening now, search Your Daily Prayer on your favorite podcast app or visit lifeaudio.com.